Hi, everyone. Welcome to Spill the Tea Radio, where we interview awesome singers, songwriters, and those who influence their lives. Spill the Tea Radio explores the journey, creativity, and inspiration behind the songs. My next guest is an award winning Canadian Egyptian artist with a fifth album set to release. Her thought provoking and hard rocking new album, aptly titled The Paper Bag Princess, merges feminist ethos and personal revelation with 1990s grunge. So, let's spill the tea with Sarah Shafey. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you.
Sarah, I'm always interested to find out how people name their bands, how people name their songs, and how people name their albums. So let's start off with that. The Paper Bag Princess. Lead us through the thought process of how you ended up with that name.
So there is a song on the album called Paper Bag Princess, and I wrote that song probably one of the earlier songs that I wrote many, many, many years ago. So there are songs on the album that span many years worth of writing, all the way
Hmm.
up to more recently. But it started with that one, and I think at the time I wrote that particular song, I had just finished rereading, I should say, as an adult, Robert Munch's Paper Bag Princess book. And it's funny when you read that as an adult versus as a child, it takes on a totally different meaning. And so I always knew that the next rock album that I would make would be named that, just because that song on the album embodies all the feminist, ethos that you were talking about. And so it just felt right that I name it that, because the rest of the songs kind of follow suit in terms of their messages.
So if the messaging of the album is of similar nature, why choose that song to call the album as opposed to any other song like the one we're going to feature today?
Yeah, yeah, that's a fair question. I think it's mostly because I love the story of the Paper Bag
Mm.
Princess, in terms of it flips the script in terms of the narrative of the princess character that we see in so many stories and fables growing up. And essentially in the end of, I don't want to, spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't read it. She becomes the hero, and she doesn't need, the Prince Charming. She doesn't realize that about herself until the end. And so I just really love that story, and it just stuck with me. So it felt the strongest in terms of the what I was trying to accomplish with this album and with the sound as well.
Where did you get your musical influence from? Not mom, not dad. No, you've got a brother and a sister. You're the baby of the family. Uh,
Mhm.
Normally, we find some musical instrument or some musical influence coming from somewhere within the family. So, where did your influence come from?
I have to give my dad some credit here. While he's not a musician in any way, shape, or form, he did have really good taste in music. And so he used to have a pretty awesome vinyl collection, a lot of which I still have now. Um, and so I will say a lot of it started from just playing a lot of his vinyl on our own, and just kind of getting into that. And he had a collection across a lot of genres, which I appreciated about him. So I think it started from there. I will give I'll give my dad some credit. But I would also say, just I started playing. I don't know where it came from, but I started playing piano at a very young age, and where it came from, nobody knows. But I just knew the second I played that instrument, that was it for me. I'm a musician, and I knew it at a very young age, and it just stuck.
No, you studied piano through to grade 10, which
Yes.
is the highest level at Royal Conservatory. Um, and within going through that process to grade 10, you learn a lot of theory and a lot of the intricacies of music. Some singer-songwriters have said to me, after my education, after I learned structure, after I learned all those things, it took away some of the spontaneity to my writing. Did you find that as well, that before you studied music in depth, your songwriting was a little bit different?
I like that question. No, I'm a pretty structured person anyway, in general. And so I actually believe in the value of having that structure in place kind of before you go down. It's different for everybody, but for me, it works very well in terms of I like having the base, the ground, the basis, something to work from, and then you can get creative and build on top of the fundamentals. And so I actually like having that structure. But admittedly, at this point in life, I've lost a lot of the knowledge that it's gone in the wind, and it's been taken over by my my spontaneity at this point in time. But I'm really happy that I have that in my somewhere in my brain repository. I'm sure it's there somewhere.
Now, people understanding now that you studied piano for so many years, and the ones that are going to be looking or watching this interview, they're going to see a few guitars hanging in the background
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well. So, uh, how did how did piano help you with guitar? If it did help you with guitar, I play both, and other than understanding the notes on the staff, I'm not sure that I get connection between the two instruments. How about you?
I found it was very helpful just in terms of understanding, the chords and, the notes and but I do find having piano has helped me learn other instruments, the guitars and just production, music production and so on and so forth. But I'm a much better piano player than I'm a guitar player. I play guitar reasonably well, but I couldn't tell you what I'm playing. That's the difference. I just play and hope for the best and make things up. Whereas with piano, I know exactly what I'm playing and the notes I'm playing and the scales and the chords. And so if somebody were to ask me, what key are you playing? It's a question mark. I've taken lessons as well, but that one didn't stick apparently.
Now, you mentioned medicine and biology and sciences seems to run in your family.
Hmm.
When you told everybody the news that that medical thing that's not going to work for me, mom, dad, did they look at you? So did you all of a sudden become a pariah amongst the family, or because you're the baby, you could do no wrong anyways?
No, that I wouldn't. Pariah might be a strong word, but they definitely looked at me sideways. And what are you talking about? What are you thinking? And yeah, it was not great at the time, but obviously everything worked out in the end. They got over it. I am they know who I am, and I'm a little bit of the rebellious one. So
Tell us how the audio engineering fits into the grand scheme of things. Obviously, you are able to produce your own music with that skill set. How does that help you when you're producing your own music to understand the ins and outs of engineering?
yeah, I can't imagine not having that skill set in terms of being an independent musician. And I highly recommend artists out there go and learn a few things about on engineering. It's a game changer in terms of your ability to, well, record your own things and within your own house if you're on a budget, or record parts of your album. So maybe it's just recording the vocals or recording piano or guitar, whatever it may be. And I do a little bit of a mix where I record some of the stuff on my own, and then I go to other studios and work with other producers and do the kind of the bigger things in their studios. So it's a budget saver in that regard, and it's also extremely helpful. And then it helps also when you're working with other audio engineers. Let's say you're going to a studio to record with other engineers. It really just the dialogue changes when you have the same skill set or some knowledge that they do. It makes, I find, the sessions go a lot more smoothly because you can see what they're doing. You can talk about the things on the screen. You understand the plugins that they're choosing. And for example, I'm really big on specific sounding vocals. I really like reverb and delay. but I'm particular about how those are used.
Mhm.
And so I can have that conversation with the engineer and say, like, up a little bit, down on the frequency, a little bit wet, a little bit dry, a little bit more tail end. And so it's just helped me significantly. And I'm very grateful that I have that knowledge.
Now, is that a rare combination where you have a an accomplished musician, artist, singer-songwriter that is also an audio engineer? Because, we hear there's audio engineers over here, there's musicians over here. In the middle, they should not meet. So, is it a rare combination to have those two skill sets?
I think it used to be. I'm noticing now with the next generation, it's I think they all are almost all audio engineering and producing to some degree. I suspect it's because of COVID and they just picked up a skill or two while stuck in the house. And so now I've noticed that the majority of producers and audio engineers now are also the artist or some combination. But I think it's less of a rarity now than it used to be.
So, out of all of those things, you've got audio engineering, you are a musician, performer, singer, songwriter. Where does your love really lie? Like, if you could only do one, where would you
Good
land?
question. Singing. Yeah,
That would be it.
easy.
No question about it.
No, no question about it. Yeah.
In the studio or out on or performing, which do you prefer?
Well, that's a good question. I, I think preference may not be for me that I can't answer. I like both in equal measures. I am very comfortable in the studio because I record an audio engineer for other people, so it's just I nerd out in the studio. But I also really love performing. It's just a different mindset and a different hat that you have to put on, and it's a totally different thing. So I really do like both, but I'm a nerd, so I like being having the headphones on and being by my computer. So
Having all of those backgrounds, the musician and the technical side of things, I'll ask you a question about AI. Artificial
sure.
intelligence is becoming a big part of our lives, our day-to-day lives,
Hmm.
and it
Hmm.
is infiltrating the artistry as well. It's
Hmm.
infiltrating music. What's your opinion about AI and music? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it ugly? Does it have a place, or should it just leave music alone?
I think I'm a proponent. I work in tech, so I'm a proponent of leveraging AI in an intelligent way. I think there are a lot of really valid uses of it in every industry where I think it can add a lot of value to musicians. At least for me, this is where it's helped significant a lot is on the administrative side of things. Um, a lot. And so for me, it's how to leverage AI for managing my calendar, my day-to-day tasks, writing specific emails, creating templates that I have to send out to different venues, whatever it may be. Formulating that. I find it very helpful for that. I don't personally love the use of it for the creation of the creative. Again, I know people who do leverage it, and I think to each their own. But if it's, I don't believe in the idea of totally replacing an artist with an AI. I think that's just not the way to go, personally. So yeah, I think it's valuable. I don't think I don't think it could or should replace the artist and the
Mhm.
creative side of things.
Let's get into one of the songs that Sarah wrote. This song was released in November and is the first single off the album Paper Bag Princess. Sarah uses the nighttime thrills of Los Angeles as a metaphor for challenging self growth. So let's take a listen to singer songwriter Sarah Shafey and her song Don't Be Afraid of the Dark.
Are you gonna go? Are you gonna go? I don't know why you're waiting here in the dark. Are you gonna go? Are you gonna go? I don't know why you're waiting in the dark. Why are you waiting in the dark? Are you waiting in the dark? Why are you waiting in
That was Don't Be Afraid of the Dark by Sarah Shafey. Sarah, tell us what that song is about and what was the inspiration to write it?
Don't be afraid of the dark. I spend a lot of time between Toronto and LA. I love that place. Unfortunately for what's going on. Very sad for
Hmm.
what's happening there right now. But I started writing that song while I was there, I think 2 years ago off the top of my head. Um, and there's a lot of wonderful things about LA and a lot of not wonderful things about LA, and the whole world is like that. And so and for me it was like I was writing it about like the darkness that exists at nighttime there. It's like told changes into a totally different world,
Hmm.
but it's also pretty fun at the same time. So it's like that's where the title come from. It's like you don't need to be afraid of the dark. And then that can be a metaphor for a lot of other things as well, in so many different ways. And so I stuck to that title. Um, but I also wrote this one in terms of going along the lines of the Paper Bag Princess album concept. Just, when you're coming out of a long relationship, you can go in one or, from my perspective, in two different directions. You can kind of go downhill or go uphill. And so this one's about like being confident in yourself and rebuilding your self-confidence and going down the path of the on the up. So it's like don't be afraid of the dark is also like, yeah, you've gone through some darkness, but you can get over it.
Sarah, how do people find out more about you and your music? What's the website, the socials, and the streaming platforms?
Yeah, you can go to sarahshafey.com. That's where you'll find everything and anything to do with my music and what I do, and anything that's upcoming. Socials, I pretty much have Instagram and Facebook. It's easier access through Instagram. If you ever want to message me, I'll be faster on answering on Instagram versus Facebook. And streaming platforms, all of the streaming platforms. You can find my music on all of them. Anything you want to find me on, you'll find it.
We have been in conversation with Sarah Shafey. Sarah, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.